Of her new film based on Noel Coward's classic play Relative Values. But for the moment, we're absolutely delighted that she's taken time out of a very busy schedule, and I know you're going to give the biggest welcome to Dame Julie Andrews. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Here.
Our audience, I tell you, they have been queuing since very early this morning to get in. So
nice.
Quite a lot of the fan club. I was just thinking, the last time you joined us in this programme was by telephone, the day after you had been to Buckingham Palace.
That's right, we spoke.
Was that just the most perfect day?
It was the most perfect day. The weather, which had been terribly hot, suddenly got cool and sunny and fresh. Everything just went like clockwork. It was as if the day was just kind of blessed for that one day. It was heavenly.
And have you got used to it? I mean, do you feel any different now that you know Miss Dame?
I don't think I'll ever get used to it quite, but I just feel wonderfully kind of warm and slightly fuzzy somewhere down here because it's a very special honour. Very.
Well, once again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, of course, you've been very much in the news because of The Voice. I know that you can't talk about it too much because there's litigation involved, etc. But what can you tell us about what actually happened to, in terms of losing your voice?
Well, I had been working terribly hard, and I had to go out on the road and work equally hard within something like 2 months. And so I was advised to have an operation which would really make me better than ever. And so I decided to have it rather reluctantly. And I haven't sung since, as you know. So I'm optimistic. My speaking voice has come back, and it's getting better all the time, but I still can't sing. So I'm working on it slowly and gradually, and I don't know if it'll ever be quite what it was, but I'd like half of it back and I'd be happy.
I mean, do you have like parts of it that and other
Some
parts that you're working on?
That's right, yes.
So what do you do? Do you rehearse each day or practice each day?
Well, when I'm travelling, it's difficult to practice, but I certainly do as often as I possibly can, yes.
Because I went
give or take the way it feels.
Yeah, I went to see you in Victoria on Broadway.
Did you?
It was
yes.
your opening night,
That's
in fact.
Right. Oh, yes.
It's a grueling show.
It was. Well, I was never off stage. I mean, if I was, it was just to do a quick change or something like that.
Yeah, fabulous
but
show.
I loved it. I enjoyed it.
And do you think it was just the strenuous aspect of that show that led to this?
I can't say. It could have
know.
been, I think, you know, it might have been there for a very long time, but I was always resting enough that it went away. So this time it pushed it a little too far.
Well, we have the film of Victoria, not the stage show.
Really?
So we'd look at a little snippet
from that first of all. I haven't even seen that.
Okay, here it is. You can certainly pack a punch, eh?
I had to learn. Oh, that was such fun. When I said I haven't seen it, yes, obviously I've seen that one, but there's another tape that's going to be sold of the actual show on Broadway, and that's the one I thought you were talking about.
Very good. Now, listen, we've established, we have said as much as we can say, really, about The Voice at the moment, and because of litigation, we'll not go into that any further.
Okay.
However, I would love to talk about when that very special voice emerged. How old were you when it was realized that you had this fantastic range of voice?
I guess I was about 7 or 8, and my stepfather, who was a fine tenor, decided he'd give me singing lessons to kind of keep me quiet, so to speak, because the war had escalated and our school was closed down and I was underfoot a lot. And I suspect he probably thought it would bring his new stepdaughter closer to him, and he was rather an awe-inspiring figure, to say the least. So he began to give me lessons, which I hated. But they discovered that I had this freaky 4-octave range, and it very quickly, he was wise enough to pass me on to his singing teacher, and I was with her for the better part of my singing life.
The famous Lillian.
The famous Lillian Stiles Allen, who was absolutely wonderful and was singing beautifully till she was like 90-something.
So what do you think she brought out in you? I mean, was she
well, she gave me the foundation.
Diction?
She gave me the technique, and I suspect, yes, the diction, because she was a stickler for it.
And did you quite enjoy it? Because it was a long trip to Leeds, you know, doing hundreds of miles every week as a
No,
child.
I can't say I enjoyed it. But very quickly, by about age 12, I guess, I realized that I had an identity. And in those days, it was not the worst life, but it was a little troubled. And, you know, with my parents away a lot and the war and all of that kind of thing, it was wonderful to have something I could hold on to. So eventually I began to say, well, this is rather nice, because I was getting spoiled and getting off to do various concerts and things like that.
And we have a picture, of course. How old would you be here? Roughly about 11 or 12?
Yeah, something like that. That's got to have been about 11. Oh, God. That must have been about 13. I was playing Humpty Dumpty at the London Casino. I actually was the egg. Can you believe that?
Well, there's so much of your career to come back to, but I'm going to spin it right up to date, in fact, to Relative Values, because you have your premiere tomorrow night.
Yes.
Now, in this case, you're a very typical English. You're the lady, the aristocratic lady of the house.
Right.
So you knew Noel Coward, though?
Yes, I had met him particularly during My Fair Lady. He was a great friend of Rex Harrison's, and he would come by and kind of offer his home in Bermuda for anybody who was needing a rest and a break, and I know Rex and his then wife, Katie Kendall, went off there quite a lot. But he was lovely, and he was always coming backstage and popping in the dressing room and things like that, and he became a friend.
And had you seen the play prior to this movie script?
No, this actually is a fairly unknown play. It's not totally unknown, but it's not one of the ones like Private Lives or any of the others that have been done a great deal. And so it actually lends itself rather well to film. And I think it opens up well on film, because a lot of Noel's plays were written for the theatre, and when he wrote for films, he wrote for films. He was a wonderful screenplay writer as well. But this one has been beautifully adapted and beautifully directed by a young, up-and-coming young director called Eric Stiles, and he's just wonderful.
Well, just to sub the story down, of course, your son wants to marry a lady whom you don't exactly approve of.
Yes,
and
somewhat
an actress.
Dubious reputation, right.
And here's a clip from it.
I haven't slept a wink all night. Oh. Have you seen Miranda this morning?
Frida, dear, Frida.
You don't like her, do you, Mother?
Well, of course I don't. I think she's a perfect ass.
Oh, please.
Well, what could be more asinine than inventing all that rubbish about slums and pubs and gutters when all along she was born perfectly respectably in Sidcup?
She was romanticizing herself. I expect it's become a habit.
Well, we can't have the new Lady Marshwood wandering around the countryside telling the most appalling lies to everybody, now can we?
How can I marry Miranda now in these circumstances?
Well, you've already announced your intention of marrying her. You can't back out of it now.
No, I didn't say I wanted to back out of it. I said, how can I marry her now in these circumstances?
How does Miranda feel about it?
Oh, I don't know. She went to bed last night in floods of tears and slammed the door in my face.
And of course, I was just thinking, that particular period of the 50s, you have all the wonderful glamour of the Dior fashions as well.
That's right, and it was the film is wonderfully set in rather bright Technicolor, so that it looks exactly like one of those period films, you know.
So premiere tomorrow night, and then at a cinema near all of us, I
yes,
would
at some
assume within
Odeon
a couple
cinema,
of days.
I suspect, to somewhere near you. Yeah.
Well, Julie, we have so much to talk to you about, but for the moment,
Lovely.
thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Now, later on in the show, we're going to be giving you a chance to call us live and ask Julie, of course, about her career. Indeed, anything from raindrops and roses to brown paper packages tied up with string. Now, the number, as always, to ring is 020-7691-5000. And then after the break, Graham Norton will be literally dropping in.
I suspected you were going to do something like that.
I love it, as you've never seen him before. We'll see you right after the break. I love it.
Oh, I love it. Not bad, not bad.
Dame Julie Andrews is today's special guest, and as we all know, she has starred in many of the greatest films and musicals of all time, which also continue to provide entertainment and joy right across the generations. In fact, the last video I bought for my grandchildren was Mary Poppins, but there you go. And we're going to be giving you the chance to speak to Julie direct and live on the show today. The number is 020-7691-5000. Now, of course, there's so much of your career. We'd never fit it all in today anyway. But we talked about finding this voice. You hit the professional stage at 12. You then, of course, went to Broadway eventually with a boyfriend and so on. I'd like to pick up just prior to Mary Poppins, when you're on stage in Broadway and Walt Disney comes in to see you.
Yep, I was doing Camelot with Richard Burton, and I got this word that Disney was going to come and see the show, and could he come backstage afterwards and talk and say hello. And so all of us were very nervous, and he came back and told me and my then husband, Tony Walton, about a live action and animated film that he was planning of Mary Poppins. And he asked if I would like to come to California to sort of see all the designs and hear the songs and things like that. And I remember saying to him, you know, I'm 3 months pregnant, and he said, well, that's okay, we'll wait. And then he said to Tony Walton, he said, and what do you do, young man? And Tony said, well, I'm a designer, but relatively unknown anywhere at this point. And he said, then you'd better bring your portfolio with you. And to cut a very long story short, we went and had an absolutely wonderful time in California. Disney spoiled us completely, and showed his incredible flair for spotting talent by hiring Tony on the spot. And he designed the main house of Mary Poppins. He designed the street of Mary Poppins and all my costumes. And he got nominated for an Academy Award for that.
Which is fantastic.
Enormously.
And how long have you been married at that stage?
At that point, we'd been married about 5 years, 4 years.
So this was a big deal for both of you, really.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Huge. I mean, it was the first film I'd ever made, and I didn't know anything about making films, and it was a great learning experience for both of us, and kicked us both off.
And as you say, I assume, I mean, untested in that sense. I mean, you've done lots of stage work, but...
Yes, and had no idea if I could make it in film. I mean, it's a different medium, and I was simply terrified, but they were so kind. It was a wonderful place to learn.
Were you nervous at all when you hit the set for the first time?
Oh, are you kidding? I thought, well, you know, what do I do? And they talk you through it, and it was lovely of them, just lovely.
What was the atmosphere like on the set? Because it was such a magical film.
It was a magical film. I tell you, one of the things that was difficult about the film was the fact that there were so many special effects, and so all the animation, a lot of the difficult things were kept. The animation was done long after the film was finished, and so if you're talking to a penguin that's there, let's say, and then they put a mock-up penguin for you to talk to, but then they take the penguin away and you have to pretend to be talking to it. Well, if you're looking at the glass, your eyes stay there. If the glass is taken away, your eyes go straight through to what is beyond it. So it was an interesting experience, really.
Well, let's just remind ourselves of some of the magic.
There it is. Good. Come along then. Quickly. Head up, Michael. Don't slouch. Just as I thought. Extremely stubborn and suspicious.
I am not.
See for yourself.
Extremely stubborn and
Suspicious. Now you, James. Rather inclined to giggle, doesn't put things away.
How about you?
Very well. Hold this for me. As I expected, Mary Poppins practically perfect in every way.
And so she was. It's the fact also that it appeals to children today just as much as it did then. It has spanned the generations.
Magic of a movie that goes around for the family. It goes every 7 years. There's a new generation to see it.
That's true. Well, now, on the line now, direct from New York, is Karen Dautrice, whom you may remember played, in fact, the little girl Jane in the very film Mary Poppins.
My Lord.
She was 8 then, and sufficient to say that nowadays she's got children of her own who are in and around the same age that she was in the film. So, Karen, welcome from New York.
Hello, Gloria. Hello, Mary Poppins.
Hello,
Thank
Karen.
you.
How great to hear your voice.
Well, congratulations on your damehood.
Thank you.
You deserve that. There is nobody who represents Britain in a more dignified manner, home or abroad than you, and you're the consummate Englishwoman. Congratulations.
Thanks, Karen. How are you?
Fabulous.
Are you well? Do you have family? Tell me in about 2 seconds flat.
10-year-old boy, 5-year-old look-alike Jane Banks, 4-year-old look-alike Michael Banks.
That's lovely. And you're living in the U.S. now?
Yes, live in Los Angeles. I'm out here visiting my mum and dad.
Oh, well, regards to you, Karen, and much love.
Actually, the thing is, of course, Karen, you are the envy of so many people because you had Mary Poppins looking after you when you were a child. What are your own special memories of making the film?
Oh, there are so many. I mean, you know, actually, Julie is, and was, for me, Mary Poppins. She was mysterious, firm, and fun. One of my funniest memories, actually, is that tea party sequence where we're laughing up on the ceiling.
Mine too.
One of the funniest memories I have is, in order for us to do that, we had to go and have our bottoms set in plaster cast. We were sort of bending over for 2 hours trying to keep a straight face, and as usual, Julie was cracking us all up, being completely goofy, but she was just so kind and sweet to us, and I don't know about a damehood, but working with we two brats, she should have had a sainthood.
Karen, thank you very much indeed for joining us today from New York. Thanks a lot.
Bye, Karen. Thank you. That's so nice.
Of course, you had to have the bottom set in plaster for that sliding up and down of the banister.
Of the banister, and also there was a kind of seesaw that we sat in that had to sort of just fit us rather snugly and comfortably, which could then be hidden. And,
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Well, our next guest has popped in on a wing and a prayer with the help of a magic umbrella. Now, he is a self-confessed slave to the sound of music, and I'm sure that meeting Julie Andrews will be one of his personal highlights. Really give a huge welcome to the house. You have never seen him like this before. Chat show host and comedian, Graham Norton.
How are you?
I'm so well.
Where
Hello.
would you like him to sit? Here?
Absolutely, no, that's fine.
I'm so giddy with excitement.
Are you giddy?
Giddy.
Well,
you
you're
get
the
giddy a
only
lot.
other one that's got the flying right, so well done.
No, I was coach. Which hand, how to do the feet,
I see.
everything.
It takes a lot of practice, doesn't it?
Well, I can imagine.
Yes.
You were up for hours.
Yeah.
Actually, Julie said you did it rather well. Good action,
Yes,
she thought.
yes, very well. Yes.
Now.
Now, when did you see the film for the first time?
Well, weirdly, of all your films, that was probably the one I saw the latest. I didn't see that till about 10 years ago.
Oh.
And I was in Spain. And I don't know why, but I was a bit bored in Spain. And there was Mary Poppins showing. So we thought, we'll go see that. Of course, all in Spanish. But it was still really good. And I now know that supercalifragilisticexpialidocious in Spanish is supercalifragilisticexpialidoso.
Oh, really?
Well, that sort of changes the song somewhat,
It
doesn't
does, a
Did
little
you,
bit.
did you have to sing the Spanish?
No, I didn't. No, somebody else must have done that, and rather well by the sound.
Dosa.
Yes, yes.
But of course, we now move on to The Sound of Music for a very, very special reason. Now, this one you adore, Graham, and also you host this new show, don't you? Occasionally.
Yeah,
where
I've
you lead the
done do
singing.
this. I'm sure
You
you've
do
heard of this.
This karaoke
The
version.
sing-along of Sound of Music.
I hear it's sensational.
It is the best fun.
Well,
It is
I've been
such
trying to be a
laugh.
fly on the wall at that place for so long, and I'm never in London.
Sort of
for
big
any-
woolly hat on.
Yeah, well, I wondered what disguise I might go in, but...
Couldn't you see their faces if you turned up one day?
Dress up as a nun, no one will spot you.
Yes,
because everyone does. Unless someone else, oh, she's good.
Yeah.
You know, everybody talks about the opening scene of The Sound of Music, you know,
Yes,
because everybody
yes.
emulated if they're out in the field. I know Graham does, he sings all the time. Where was that actually shot?
It was shot in Austria, in Bavaria, actually, just over the edge of Austria, and way, way up in the mountains. And nobody had told the production company that Salzburg and around has the world's 7th highest annual rainfall. And so it dumped rain day after day, and we would literally be under tarpaulins and wrapped up in blankets and then dash out at the last minute to get the shot if we could when the sun came through.
And one of the best bits I'd forgotten is how long it takes to find you at the beginning of the film.
Yes.
It must be like 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, they've got the whole series of shots.
So
Yes.
how long were you alone on the top of that mountain waiting for a helicopter to arrive?
Well, that helicopter was a jet helicopter, And once it started at one end of the field, and I started at the other, and we met in the middle. And it was fine. This very brave cameraman was hanging out of the side of it. And he would signal that he'd gotten the shot, and then he would circle and go back to the beginning, and I'd go back to the beginning because it took several takes. But what nobody realized was that the downdraft from the jets was so strong that it leveled me every time it went around me. So, you know, I was fine for a couple of takes, and then I began to sort of brace myself and thought, I do not need to get mud and dust all over me. And no matter how I tried, it knocked me to the ground every time. I got so angry.
The bit that I love, mind you, about the idea of the show, the sing-along, is the fact that everybody, you know, dresses up,
and they boo and hiss and carry on, don't they?
Oh, they boo the Baroness, and she's very bad.
I heard somebody turned up as a brown paper package tied up in string the other day.
People, they go to so much trouble, because when they said to me, oh, and people will come in fancy dress, I thought, oh, I'm sure one sad person will show up. But no, everyone shows up.
And lederhosen?
Oh, and down to, is it Gretchen's or
Gretel.
Gretel, down to her band-aid.
No.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
No, I heard also that somebody came totally painted in gold, and somebody said, well, what are you? And he said, I'm Ray, a drop of golden sun.
What is it they do with the curtains? I'm watching the curtains today, just in case you make a few things.
Because it is sort of like film panto in lots of ways. So you know, they shout things out. And one of my favourite bits is when you're on the bed and the children have gone to bed and you've had the argument about the play clothes, and you're thinking, and the curtains are behind you, and people start shouting, behind you, behind you.
That is panto, isn't it?
I tell you what, let's have a look at just some of the atmosphere from that karaoke style.
Oh, that's wonderful for me.
Sing-along Sound of Music. Well, it all started at the Lesbian and Gay Film Festival, not this year, last year, 99, April 99. And then the Prince Charles sort of took over, I think, August last year, and they've sort of like basically kind of commercialised the whole thing. It's twice a week, Fridays and Sundays, and kind of taken off. I mean, it's just extraordinary, really.
Oh, it's great fun, and I'd like to introduce my little girl to it. I saw it when I was 5, and it's been with me ever since.
Most people saw it in the 60s, and it became a cult film then, and it's a cult film now as a sing-along.
It's fun. Like a girl thing as well, you know, having a enjoy with your friends. It's a classic.
Julie Andrews is the main reason why I'm here. I've been in love with her for well over 20 years.
She's kind of an institution, isn't she? I mean, it's just something that's so sort of British, and it's kind of quaint, and it's, I don't know, maybe, I just think it's that kind of world gone, maybe. I just go out and compare, and I get them doing a practice sing-along to start off with, and it's just the best audience to walk out in front of, because they are here to sing along, and they've usually come dressed up as well. You don't need to encourage them. They come knowing exactly what they have to do, booing the Nazis, hissing the Baroness, waving at Julie, barking at Roll. All of this, they just know it all before you can come.
I loved it. I love when they all sing the Doe a Deer song in the hills. It's my favorite part.
I know all the words, all the songs, the whole script.
Doe a deer, a female deer,
We have a fancy dress competition as well. We get everybody who's in fancy dress. Usually we have hundreds of nuns, which does get a bit boring, actually.
We all dress up with themes from The Sound of Music, and obviously I'm brown paper packages tied up with strings.
I've come today as Greta.
I've come today as Mother Superior.
Hi, Gloria.
Dame Julie, we absolutely love you. No matter what you do, you are fabulous.
I know she's watching. Hello, Julie. And I do apologise for what we're doing to your great work. It's fun. It is fun.
Yes, Julie, it's great fun. Come and join us. You'll love it.
Do you think she'll come? I hope so. Hope I'm here when they do come.
So what do you think, Julie? Will you go?
The minute I can. I can't wait.
It is hysterical.
You should, though, because you think it's going to be a bit annoying, everyone shouting and singing all the songs, supporting it, but it does. At the end, you still cry. Having shouted and booed and made fun of it the whole way through.
It sort of put it up into a whole new sort of cult category or something, hasn't it? You know, they're going to be doing the same thing to Greece. the movie, I think, and I know that this karaoke is going to go to America.
And going around the country as well.
Yeah, it's going to tour around the country.
Oh my.
I hear it gets wild when it's out in the country.
Yes, provinces get a bit overexcited. And all week making costumes.
Presumably, Julie, though, in reality...
Do you think you'll do the same with Gladiator one of these days?
Might be a bit more difficult.
Yeah.
Bring in the lions and the tigers.
Yes.
And things. But presumably the film elevated you to a whole new kind of success, really. It was another layer, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And as such, it was a little terrifying. And if you're not rooted in kind of common sense, and I didn't have the greatest amount of it in those days, it can knock you sideways, and it did.
And then presumably with Mary Poppins and the image of being a nun, you've just kind of had to fight against
that. Bracketed because, well, I've always, all my life, tried to do as many different things as I possibly can because I love it. That's the thrill is to, you know, do a musical and then maybe be lucky enough to do a comedy or a drama or whatever. But when you have a success like that, it's sort of, it's the thing that everybody remembers. Everybody remembers Clark Gable because he did Gone with the Wind, and yet he did hundreds of other movies as well. And so it does bracket you.
Well, now, Julie, you don't have to sing in this, because I know you're not supposed to use the voice too much, but Graham is going to lead the singing.
Don't worry, I can't sing. I will.
A likely story.
Now, I think our audience, they're going to get themselves all dressed up for the occasion. So, Graham, you've got the pointer and the board.
Oh, they've got the headscarf.
They've got the headscarves.
I love it.
They've got all their words.
Did you set this up today, Gloria?
Oh, no, not at all. They bring their headscarves all the time. So, Graham, you've got your pointer there.
I've got a pointer. Thank you very much.
Okay, do you want to come round the front here?
Is that what I do?
Excellent, yep.
Yes.
Excellent.
Right,
We've got Harry on piano, of course.
I hope you've all got a good eyesight. I can hardly read this from here.
They've got their song sheets, Graham.
Oh, you've got your song sheets, fine.
And of course, if everybody wants to join in from home as well,
yeah, this is obviously for the people at home aboard.
Are you all set, Harry?
Now, Harry's at the piano. Oh no, are you all ready? Yes. Oh, they're keen. There. All right. So now, how does it start? Do you start and then we start? Shut. Okay. Roses, very good. Tins, that's right.
I can't hear ya.
Just tied up with string.
Beautiful.
These are a few of my favorite things.
What are they? Oh. Delicious.
These are a few of my favorite things.
Ooh.
Quicker.
When the bee sings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things. And then I don't feel so bad. Oh, no, don't go! You have to keep it going, Harry.
That was fantastic.
The singing will continue, and then we're going to be joined by Charlotte Church. But when we come back right after the break, it will be your turn to ask the questions when Julie Andrews will be taking your calls. So are you ready once again, Graham?
Oh, we're doing it again. All right. Well, you
Ready,
relax.
go.
You have
Come on,
drink
Harry.
forward. Here we go.
Sing song.
Okay.
Much better.
Nothing is due. Nothing. Hello again. Now, for the benefit of those of you who just joined us, and where have you been? We are dedicating the whole programme today to the life and work of a very special star guest, Dame Julie Andrews. She's never going to be the same after all this karaoke singing. And still to come on the programme, Welsh singing sensation Charlotte Church. Well, Charlotte's going to be paying her own unique tribute when she sings for us live. She's very glad to be out of an exam today as well, so she's glad to be here. Now, before the break, the one and only Graham Norton led our audience in that rendition of the Sound of Music classic, My Favourite Things. Well, now, so far, I've been the one asking the questions, and Graham to a certain extent, but it's time now to throw it open to the audience to find out what all of you, of course, would like to know. So I'm going to start off with Anders, because Anders comes from London, sitting there in the front row. Hi, Anders.
Hi.
There you are, direct line then to Julie.
Hi. Hi, Julie.
Hi, Anders.
Hi. I know you worked a lot with James Garner.
Yes.
And is it true he's a great kisser?
Why do you want to know, Anders? I'm a bit worried now.
He's an extremely lovely friend, and I think the rumour began when we were making our first film together. We've done three things together, and the first film was, it was only the second film I'd ever made, and we had to do a very passionate love scene. And it was on a bed, and the camera stayed on us for the longest time, and I began to get a little hot under the collar, and I was thinking, no, I'm professional. This is my new job. I can handle this. I'm going to be really professional. And it went on for most of the afternoon, first this way, then that way, then a close-up, then a, you know, and we never got up. And finally, when the director said, okay, that's it, we've got it, you can stop now, I got up off the bed and my legs buckled. So I think you can probably tell from that.
I think the answer is yes. All right, where's Wendy? Wendy Freeman. Let's see where Wendy... Yeah, other side of the audience. Wendy, what's your question?
Yeah, hello, Julie. I was just wondering, can you still say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious backwards?
Backwards. I knew you were going to ask. Docious-ali-expiastic-fragicalirupus. How about that?
Impressive, impressive. Okay, going to the telephone now. Who joins us this afternoon? Hello, is that Graham?
Hi.
Hi, Graham. Well, you're in Aberdeen, I hear.
Yes, I am.
Okay, what's your line to Julie, of course?
Hi, Julie.
Hi, Graham.
I'd like to know if you keep in contact with any of the actors who played the Von Trapp children in The Sound of Music.
I do. Not as often as I would like, because they've all grown up and they've all got their own families now and they've gone their own way. But I know quite a bit about them. Some of them have stayed in the theatre, some of them have retired. One of the eldest boy is now working in Australia as an actor. But every 10 years or so we get together for a really big celebration, and then it's as if we never said goodbye.
Thank you.
Actually, did the relationship on the screen, I mean, as you were filming it, did that build up quite quickly with the children?
Yes, easily. They were, first of all, they were great kids, and secondly, I sort of felt that I should help get responses and things out of them when it was their close-up. So I used to make them laugh and giggle, and I really did sort of become mum to them in a way, you know.
How do your own grandchildren react to the film?
They haven't seen The Sound of Music, because all my baby grandchildren, I've got 5 grandchildren altogether, and 4 of them are real little ones. Oh, God, they're divine. But my 2.5-year-old grandchild, when he was 2.5, he saw Mary Poppins, and his mother had not intended to expose him to the film quite that early, but apparently he went to a friend's birthday party, and they had the Mary Poppins. And he stood in front of the screen, and his mother knew that he recognized something about it was familiar. And he stared at it, and she went up beside him, and she said, "Do you think you know that person?" He said, "Yes," with a great lisp. And she said, "Is it somebody we know?" "Yes." And he kept looking at the screen and looking at the screen. And finally, after a few more questions, she said, "Do you think it could be Granny Jules?" And he went, "Oh, yes!" Which was great.
That's the one. Well, Graham, thank you very much for your question from Aberdeen.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Janice, we have Janice in our audience. Where's Janice? There she is in her lovely colour of blue.
Hi.
Hi, Janice, and what's your question?
Hello, Julie.
Hi.
I love everything that you've been in. I think you're absolutely wonderful.
Thanks, Jan.
But my biggest disappointment, I loved you in My Fair Lady, and I wondered why you weren't in the film, because you should have been.
Ah, thank you. Well, it's pretty simple. In those days, I'd never done a movie, and I wasn't known across America. I was only known, to a small extent, on Broadway for having done My Fair Lady. And in those days, a box office name really helped sell a movie and bring the public in. And so my good friend, Audrey Hepburn, was asked to do it instead. And I didn't mind at the time. I really didn't, because who could mind when 3 months later Disney comes and says, "Would you like to do Mary Poppins?" But later I thought, well, it would have been nice to put the role down definitively, but listen, that's the way life is, and that's one's karma, so I'm not unhappy or bitter about it at all.
Yeah, and of course the press, I think, wanted to make a thing of it, but in fact the two of you were good friends.
Very good friends, yeah, she was a lovely lady.
Well, thank you for your question. We're going to our telephones now. It's Angie Blackford in Hampshire. Hi, Angie.
Hi.
You got through. Here she is.
Yes, I have. Yes, thank you.
What's your question?
Angie.
Hello, Julie.
Hi.
Congratulations on your Dame, first.
Thank you.
What I'd like to say is that you've always had this lovely sort of clear-cut, smart image. I wondered if you've ever been tempted to change that image and sort of come out with a wild hairdo or something that might shock your fans terribly.
I think I looked such a fright if I ever did try, Angie, that it probably wasn't worth it.
You just time seems to stood still. You look, you know, don't look aged at all. I would like to know your secret.
Oh, thank you.
So would I, Angie. I tell you, we all want to know.
I don't think I could give you much other than drinking a ton of water and cleaning my face well at night. My mum blessed me with some good skin, I think, and some fairly good bones. I don't exercise as much as I should, and I get away with as much as I can.
You sort of shut door and then sort of put on a shocking red wig or something.
Well, I might if I go see the karaoke Sound of Music.
Right.
How about that?
Yeah, that's a very good idea, Angie, as long as you come on the same day.
Well, well done. You look absolutely super.
Thanks.
Well
What's
done.
your favourite role, Angie, as a matter of interest? That
What of
Julie's
all
played?
of them? I don't think I can give you a favourite because they've all been so super, and I mean, she's such an image. You've got to just sort of look at her and think how wonderful she is.
Well, Angie, I'm glad you got through today. Thank you very much. Thank you. And the
Long
final
may you
question...
reign.
Thanks. The final question goes to Jack. Jack in the front row here.
Hi, Jack.
Hi, Dame Julie. It's such an honour to be here
Thank
with you today. I was wondering, of all the wonderful and diverse things that you've done, is there one thing that stands out, whether it be a record or a stage or a film role, anything that really stands out?
I have to tell you that if you ask me in my life if one thing has stood out more than any other, it's probably the birth of my natural-born daughter, because that's something that all women, I think, will probably tell you is one of the loveliest miracles that could happen to you. But in terms of my professional career, that's really, really hard to answer. And I think I can't answer it for you because everything's been such a... it's been either interesting or an adventure or a joy, or I loved working with someone, or I loved the screenplay or the director, or just the excitement of being somewhere. I think I'm a very lucky lady.
It might be the next film, Jack. That's the thing.
Usually whatever I'm doing right now is what's the best.
Exactly. Jack, thank you very much, and of course all the audience indeed for your questions. And we're going to take a very short break at this stage, but I hope you're going to stay with us, because when we come back, we'll be chatting about what the future, of course, has in store for our star guest today. And another remarkable British singing talent joins us, that Charlotte Church, of course, and she'll be taking your pew right after this. Well, the enthusiasm has not waned one little bit, and nor should it. So may I just say welcome back to the last section now of our very special open house. In a moment, the extremely talented Charlotte Church sings for us live. But first, to bring us right up to date on life and career, will you welcome back once again Dame Julie Andrews. It's funny, you know, before the programme begins, and when you actually think to yourself, well, we're devoting the whole programme, you think, I'll have masses of time to talk about most things. Of course you don't.
No.
Because your career is so broad. But I couldn't leave out talking about My Fair Lady. It was brought up in the questions. But at what stage, were you actually on Broadway at that time when you were offered the role of My Fair Lady?
Yes, I was in The Boyfriend. The first thing I ever did on Broadway was The Boyfriend. And it had been done here in England, but it hadn't been done on Broadway. And I was lucky enough to be asked to do it. And I had been rather fearful of doing the Boyfriend, and I had said yes, fine, to cut a long story short, that I would do it, but only for 1 year, not for the 2 that they were asking me to sign for. And about 2 weeks before I was due to go home, I got a call from a man who said he represented Alan J. Lerner and Frederick Lowe, and he just wanted to ask me one question, and that was, how long was I going to be in The Boyfriend for? And I said, well, I'm going home in 2 weeks.
Were you homesick? Did you really want to get back?
Well, yes, I was dying to get back by that time. And so he said, oh, my God, he said, the guys said you were going to have a 2-year contract like everybody else. And I said, well, I'll give her a phone call. It'll only waste a dime. So that was an unbelievably lucky break. And I auditioned for Fair Lady and ultimately got it.
And it must be one of the best parts that a woman can play.
It's probably the most difficult musical role that a lady can play. I can't think of many others that, because it's dramatic, it's hugely sort of proper acting, if you know what I mean, because it was written as a play. Then there's all the shrieking and the screaming and the angry scenes, and then there's all the pure singing right after that. So it is tremendously taxing for an actress. And I played it for like 3.5 years.
Did you play 3.5 years?
Yeah, 2 on Broadway and 18 months in London.
It must have been fantastic that coming back to London was such a success.
Oh, talk about being nervous. That was, you know, by then the word of mouth was so ahead of us that hardly anyone could live up to that kind of publicity, but luckily we did.
And then huge publicity as well about Cecil Beaton and the impact that he made with the costumes.
Yes, and beautiful. I mean, how lucky we were to have those kind of talented, wonderful giants around us, you know.
Now, as a matter of interest, I mean, we can talk about, you know, endless musicals, and of course you've got about 3 films in the pipeline, including the one we've talked about today. What stage do you think you're at the moment with your career and your ambition and everything that you want to do?
I think I'm at a lovely stage because I'm less pressured. My children have grown up, and so I'm not quite as guilty or as worried as mums usually are when they've got the family to go back to. And so I'm a little freer now, and I'm just loving the fact that there's a whole new sort of renaissance of me, seemingly, and I'm writing children's books and enjoying them hugely, and I'm going to be doing some television, and there's another movie that's being talked about, so...
Actually, that's a point about children's books, because you wrote some like many moons ago, didn't you? It's not a new thing.
No, no, no. I've been doing it for about 20 years now, but I just had a new one come out called Little Bo. It hasn't come out in this country yet. And I'm doing a...
Who or what is Little Bo?
Little Bo is a little cat, and her name is Boadicea, but she's called Little Bo for short. And she's a ship's cat, and she travels all over the world. And this is the first book of hopefully a series of her adventures.
Well,
and then I'm doing one with my lovely daughter Emma, for all the grandchildren, of course.
As a legacy?
Well, as for my pleasure and their fun, or vice versa.
Well, now, we were earlier saying that by the age of 12, Dame Julie, of course, had taken her first steps towards professional stardom as, of course, that popular child performer we were talking about. Now, to sing with such depth and range at such a young age is exceptionally rare. But joining us now is a girl who shares that unique talent. Her debut album has sold over 3 million copies, and her second self-titled album looks set to do even better. I know you're going to give a very special welcome to 14-year-old double platinum selling star Charlotte Church. Hi, Charlotte. How are you, darling? Looking good. Hi, Charlotte.
I have so long to meet you. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Come down. I think your mum and your nan are pretty excited that you're here today.
Very excited.
I've heard so much about you, and I'm such a fan, and I've been longing to meet you.
Yeah, it's good.
Good. Because there are a lot of comparisons to make. I mean, I think you implied in a way that you were so busy with singing lessons, Julie, when you were growing up, that there wasn't much time for childhood as we know it. Do you regret that in a way?
Well, I can't regret it because it led to such wonderful things. Yeah, I rather regret not having had a better school education, and I'm sure your parents are probably... I hear you had to give up an exam today, right?
Yeah, well, I'm doing it tomorrow.
Are you?
I'm maths, so I'm doing it tomorrow, but I've been quite busy with my exams recently, but I've been happy. I've already got 2 results back, and I got 95% in geography, and I got 75 in maths. I'm really happy with that.
Can't do much better than that. How difficult is it, though, to combine, because you're travelling all over the place as well?
It can be quite difficult, and when I'm on the road, I have a private tutor who tutors me for 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I'm quite lucky because my tutor's quite young, he's 24, so it's not like really, really serious all the time, because if it was, and if it was really lots of discipline and really strict, then I don't think I could handle it, but, you know...
It's tough enough, though, doing the work and doing the
especially when you're in New York or somewhere fun and you want to go out shopping or something and you have to sit and do 3 hours tutoring. And you just don't want to.
And you're travelling a lot these days,
yeah, a lot. Yeah. But I've had a couple of weeks off now to study for exams and things, but I'm going to be recording my 3rd album soon.
Oh.
So then it's going to go all nuts again.
Isn't it fun?
It is fun, it is. It's
what age were you when you started singing?
I was, same as you, 8.
Yes.
And then I started singing lessons when I was about 9 1/2.
Right, exactly what happened to me.
And then when I was about 10, that was when we realised that I had a talent for not just kind of like a chest voice. Because first of all, I had a chest voice, but then I went singing lessons, and then I developed a soprano voice.
Yes.
How many octaves do you have?
About 3 1/2, I think.
3 1/2.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's a beautiful voice too.
Thank you.
And it's beautifully trained.
Yeah,
you must have a wonderful teacher.
Yeah, I do. Her name's Louise Ryan, and she's fabulous. She's been teaching me since I was 9 1/2.
Good.
There are lots of great comparisons there, you know, as you were as a child and as Charlotte is experiencing at the moment. It's the highlights also. I mean, you've met everybody, Charlotte, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been really, really lucky. I've got to meet the Pope, which was amazing, Bill Clinton, which was fabulous, Prince Charles, the Queen, Prince Philip. I must say Prince Philip was... Prince Philip and the Pope was my favourite.
Why is he your favourite?
Well, Prince Philip was just really, really lovely and really down to earth. He was nice.
And what about the Pope? You're one up on me on that.
Yeah. It was just an amazing experience because, I mean, my whole family's Catholic, so then it was like the hugest honour possible. And it was just so weird, just because he looked so holy, and I felt really cleansed afterwards. I felt like a real angel.
Bet that lasted 5 minutes.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I don't know about
When you look back on your childhood, Julie, what stands out as, you know, big highlights of doing things,
I think the
meeting
same
people?
things that Charlotte's speaking about, that, you know, a Royal Command performance or meeting special people, and I'm going to be doing my biography fairly soon, especially about the early years. And I think it's also all that hard work. You don't realize how much you're learning as you're learning. Only in retrospect do you realize how much.
Do you ever at any time, Charlotte, think, oh, I would just like to forget about all the study and just sort of, you know, be the average teenager, if you like?
I mean, sometimes, but I mean, you get over that. Everybody goes through those kind of stages. But, you know, sometimes it's really hard work and you think, hey, I just want to go home and be normal. It's never kind of, I want to go home and go to school. No. It's just, I want to go home and see my
who's
friends.
luckier than we? I mean, we both have such a wonderful life, and it makes it so special.
Yeah,
and it's kind of a wonderful gift.
Well, Charlotte, I know you've got to get ready to sing yourself. What are you actually going to sing for us today?
I'm going to be singing I Could Have Danced All Night from My Fair Lady.
That's
and would that be normally in your repertoire, or have you worked that up especially for us?
Well, I've kind of whipped it up especially for you, but I used to sing it in my early days, when I was about 10 or 11.
Your early days.
I know.
In her early days.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Charlotte Church. Thank you, Charlotte, for joining us.
Excellent. Thanks, Charlotte.
And just as Charlotte gets ready, Julie, I get the impression that despite the fact that you have your litigation over the voice and everything, that you're a very happy woman at the moment.
I am happy. Obviously, the voice is a huge worry, and I'm praying that I can pull it together again, because it gives me such joy to sing, and to sing with an orchestra is one of the loveliest things you can imagine, Gloria. But when
have
all
you suffered the most awful frustration in, you know, here's something that you've been used to doing since
well, let's say there have
8.
been some very bad days, but then having said that, you say, okay, so what am I meant to learn from this? It's the way it is, and what can I benefit from? How can I turn it on its end? And I've suddenly discovered that I'm getting back to writing again, and things like that, and along comes a lovely film like Relative Values, and it's all very interesting the way it unfolds.
What is that phrase again? When God closes the door, he opens the window?
Opens the window somewhere. That's right.
So are you very philosophical like that?
Yes, I think there's nothing I can actually do other than work and practice and hope and pray, so I might as well take what comes.
Well, we're all with you on that.
Thanks.
We do wish you the very best. I
Thanks.
hope it does return for all our sakes.
Thank you.
But thank you very much indeed. Dame Julie Andrews, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Gloria.
And now, with her tribute, of course, to Julie, here she is singing a song from the musical My Fair Lady. Let's hear it for Charlotte Church and the classic I Could Have Danced All Night.
Bed, I couldn't go to bed. My head's too light to try to set it down. Sleep, I couldn't sleep tonight. Not for all the jewels in the crown. I could have danced all night. I could have danced all night and still have begged for more. I could have spread my wings and done 1,000 things I've never done before. I'll never know what made it so exciting. Why all at once my heart so thrive. I only know when he began to dance with me, I could have danced that dance all night. I could have danced all night. I could have danced all night and still have begged for more. I could have spread my wings and done 1,000 things I've never done before. I'll never know what made it it wants my heart to fly. I only know when he's going to dance with me. We could have danced, danced,
Come over and join us, Charlotte. That was absolutely fantastic.
Wonderful. Wonderful. It's not an easy song, is it?
That was truly wonderful. Now your mum and your nan will be saying, oh, there she is, that Charlotte sitting between Graham and Julie Andrews.
Yes, yes. We're all big.
Obviously, it's been a really special day for us. Thanks not only to Charlotte and to Graham, but of course to Dame Julie for joining us. It's been a lovely day. Hope you join us tomorrow, 2:15. We'll do it all over again. Bye-bye. See you then. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.